So Overwatch has always been, I guess, just an interesting game to me,
Mhm.
and I usually have like an annual week and a half where I just play it as my main game. But this time I really liked it, I guess,
Okay, fair enough.
and I started watching more content on YouTube. Found some of your videos and I found them really, really helpful, and I just liked your
Awesome.
approach, so I decided to book my own session.
Perfect. Okay. Okay. Makes sense. Makes sense. All right. Let me get your form pulled up here. So, your Plat DPS player, at least at the time of the form, was about a month ago. So, how long have you been playing the game? Obviously, you've kind of been on your cycles here, but how long have you been cycling the game?
Well, I started, I think, like winter 2016 on console because that's
Dang.
where all my friends were still playing.
Yep.
Um, I thought the game was cool. I just didn't really like the lack of structure because there was no role queue, and then playing on a controller was just terrible because I've been
Yeah.
playing on PC for years at that point. Um, I sort of just played quick play, very on and off,
Hmm.
sort of at the pace I talked about. Um, I'd play ranked occasionally. Probably the most I would play is maybe like 20 games in a season.
Uh huh.
Uh, in the first game, I pretty much only played tank and I only played Zarya. And the highest I got was, I want to say like 2750
Hmm.
ish.
Now, why
Um,
Zarya?
well, she was a tracking hero that actually did damage, so I was
Makes
drawn to
sense.
her.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Um, that's pretty much the extent of my experience with Overwatch 1. With Overwatch 2, I committed to playing DPS only because I didn't really like the idea of being a solo tank because I was kind of a pretty bad tank player, all things considered.
Sure. Now, this is PC at this point, I assume.
Yeah, I switched to PC, God, maybe like April 2017.
Got it. So long, 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 long. Okay.
Yeah. Um, sort of played on and off still. I definitely started to become more interested in the game with Overwatch 2. I just like the pacing of it. It felt a lot more skirmishy to me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, committed the soldier, and then I want to say beginning of season 4, I placed in a 5 stack with my friends like we do. I got silver 1, and I was really bummed on that, but I was still finishing up my spring semester. So I chilled for a bit, came back like May 8th, May 9th. I think that's when my semester ended,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been playing the game every day since.
Okay. Okay. Makes sense. Now, why do you think that is? What's changed? Well, first off, why were you at least even in Overwatch One on the Overwatch cycle? What burned you out and didn't discourage you from coming back?
Um at that point I think I was more drawn to like tactical shooters cuz like my most played game is CS:GO,
Makes
and
sense.
those are the kinds of games I was drawn to for a long time. I started to get really burnt out on that after a lot of playtime, and I started to move into more fast-paced games. So I definitely like eased into it, and then also just I think in my life, I made a lot of changes just in my lifestyle that
Sure.
allowed me to stay more focused and not burn out so quickly. Like really starting to
Sure.
budget my playtime,
Sure.
being healthier, like getting better sleep definitely made like a huge difference, especially
Sure.
once I was out of high school,
Makes
stuff like
sense.
that.
Makes sense. It's usually how it goes. It's usually like a two pronged approach where like you enjoy the game better because the game is just more fun. Like I like the 5v5 swap too personally,
Yeah.
but also that you go into it with a healthier mindset as well. So okay, so you're on the DPS grind. You're at plat. I assume the DPS was it's not that deep. It's your tactical shooter guy. You play the shooter guys.
Pretty much. I actually don't really like most of the DPS heroes. Most like my favorite heroes are the supports, but I really, really like Soldier and I really like Cassidy. So I
Okay,
stuck with
makes sense.
DPS.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah, I always want to pick the stuff that you enjoy the most. Now, Tracer was in there at least at the time of the form. Is
Yeah,
that
that
like
was
just like
short
a
lived.
yeah, short lived? Okay, okay, makes sense. So mostly just Soldier Cassidy now.
Yeah, I want to be good at Tracer at some point. I just don't know if right now is really the time
Yeah,
for me to
fair
be
enough.
doing that.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And you are plat.
I've hit Diamond since several times. I've been Diamond for the last like 2 weeks, and then I didn't realize that like replays reset after every patch.
Huh. Huh.
So I kind of like rage queued yesterday, and now I'm plat
Disaster.
2. So
Disaster. Okay. Okay. Makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. Well, typically, I mean, yesterday was not supposed to happen either. Like, I don't know where that came from. They usually do patches on Tuesday. So it
mhm.
caught me off guard too because I was recording stuff for a video and I'm like in the middle of the game. You require a pat. I'm like, no, I needed the replay code from that. So I don't know what the deal was, but yeah, that yesterday's patch. So okay. Um, I have to learn more about how to get out of Soldier Cassidy overall, and hopefully some guidance on decision making. Sleep 6 to 7 hours, usually closer to 7. That's good to hear. Obviously, hearing that that's improved overall is also very nice. Long-term, short-term goals. Stable diamond by the end of the summer. We're close. Long-term masters by the end of the year. Okay.
I think I was being a little pessimistic with that. I think I can probably achieve both of those faster.
Maybe. Yeah. Everything comes from like a standpoint of like what's going to be fun. You know,
right? Yeah.
What's going to be fun? Like what happens if like the game's not as fun for you? But I set the goal to reach master, so like I don't know. Don't force it for the sake of forcing it. But at least as of now, sure, that seems reasonable enough. So playtime, where are you at playtime wise right now?
In terms of like hours played, to be honest, I don't know. I can tell you that I play bare minimum 10 games per day. Usually it's closer to like, if I had to pick a number, probably like 17 games a day. And I spend maybe like 10 minutes warming up in Vexa.
Okay.
And I only play ranked.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that's more than enough to get you to stable diamond. And then Vaxta. Vaxta's really good for hit scan, so that's good.
I've tried tryhard FFA. For Cassidy, I liked it a little bit, but for Soldier, I found it was kind of meh.
Okay. I mean, the good news is that you probably don't need to be honest with you. It's more for Tracers, Genji's supports, to be honest.
Yeah, when I was playing Tracer, I liked it a lot.
Yeah, because you can't play Tracer in Vaxta.
Yeah.
But Soldier cast 5-10 minutes in Vaxta, then going to ranked. Yeah, I think you're probably fine. Okay, so training time sounds okay. Now you said you rage queued yesterday.
That is not a normal occurrence.
Okay, why? Well, what happened?
I had no games to bring to this.
Well, I know that, but like, why was it a rage queue?
I was really happy with the game I had saved to bring to you, and I wasn't gonna play it all yesterday because I was like really feeling burnt out. Like I don't know why, I just really didn't want to play.
Interesting.
And when I'm not focused, the game's just not fun at all.
I get you.
So I pretty much played, and I say I'm rage queuing because I really felt like I was just playing with the purpose of like I need a good game to bring to you for this session.
Sure, makes sense.
And I didn't really get one. I mean, the one I have for you, I mean, I have two prepared, but the one I'm going to give you is probably like the least terrible one.
Sure.
But
sure. Okay. Now, I guess my question here is you said it's not usual for you, but like, well, what happened? And you said you're feeling the burnt out. I think that's what I'm most interested about. You know what I'm saying? So like, why? Like, what was it that put you into that mentality? Been playing too much recently, or what? Or just?
I think that's honestly it. I've been cutting down on my playtime slightly for the last week and a half, where I'm typically closer to like 10 to 12 games a day.
Yeah.
I think I started doing that because I was finding that rather than going into the game sort of thinking about like where should I be positioning, who's a threat to me, like etc.
Mm-hmm.
All I was thinking about was like how many more games I have to play. Like I was forcing myself to like get to that number, and that's like all I was thinking about. So I decided to like, take a step back. Yeah, it was not good.
You have to be flexible with that. You have to be like, be honest, like what's going to actually work, what's not going to work. Yeah, I don't know, because a lot of it is like your ability, like you saw it yesterday. Your ability to perform is going to be dependent on a lot of X factors, and some of those are a little bit outside of your control, like your sleep, your mentality, that kind of a thing. So I think I had this a lot with like my injuries and stuff. Like I sometimes would be like, I still struggle with it, where I'm like, I'll be injured or something, or I don't get enough sleep, and my like first response is I just don't want to play at all. Or I'll force myself to do the full workout, right? When in reality, if I was just a little bit more flexible with it and like was scaling to how I felt during the day or like the extenuating circumstances, it would be a lot more productive, Yeah. So I think that's something to kind of keep in mind. You want to play a decent amount, but obviously you can play more on certain days, you can play less on certain days, and not trying to like force to a rigid structure. Just get out and do your homework. That's good enough.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions so far?
No, not so far.
Small little detail. Are you taking breaks between games? Like, are you getting up from your computer between games or taking mid-set breaks at all?
Not every game, but usually after like 5, I usually get up go downstairs or like go outside or
Okay.
something.
Okay. I might consider trying to do one between every game if you can. Not a long break. Literally walk during the queue, standing up and then sitting back down again. Like not even look away from the computer. Anything like that, I think would be worth your time. Just a little bit of a reset there.
All right.
That can also help you to remind you of what you're going to be working at, which we'll get to in a moment. What do you feel is holding you back from improving? Probably understanding above all else, which makes sense given your background and your times off and on. I think my mechanics are good enough right now. Obviously, makes sense. My mentality is good from other competitive games I've played. There are a lot of times I feel unsure about what to do and struggle to find ways to impact the game. Do you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, well, in general, that mechanics comment, that's not really me saying like I'm cracked. It's just like I don't think that's my biggest weak point at the moment.
No, I didn't take it that way. That's
All right,
exactly how I took it. Yeah.
As far as understanding, it's definitely improved since I've booked the session. Like there used to be like
I'm just
whole
that good.
maps.
Let's go.
Yeah, you've already worked your magic. There used to be like whole maps where I was just like, I have no idea what to do. Like
Right.
King's Row, Lijiang Tower, Circuit, even though that map I think still sucks.
It sucks, yeah.
It's definitely improved. Now it's a little more niche. Like I think the only whole maps I generally feel bad on are like Ilios and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But now it's like going against specific heroes. Like I used to struggle a lot with Widow, especially when I submitted the form. I think that's changed. I think I deal with her slightly better.
Okay.
But there's still some stuff like if there's a Hanzo on the other team, I feel like super lost as to like what sort of fights I can take because I feel like I just lose that in general.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Hanzo is a hero that has an advantage over literally every hero in the entire cast outside of certain circumstances. He's a weird hero. He doesn't provide as much utility. He's not like a super strong hero in a lot of aspects, but he just is really freaking good at 1v1s. So like you don't pick a fight with Hanzo unless you have like the stars are aligned for you. You're able to close the distance, you have stick as Cass, you take the duel with Hanzo. Hanzo's slightly distracted, you have Helix, you take the duel with Hanzo, right? But they have to be like, you can't just like, oh, I'm just gonna peek this Hanzo for no reason. Like not always the best call. He's a weird hero in that respect.
Mm-hmm. And then I guess the last thing in regards to that is in like specific points of some maps, if it's like a really stiff choke or like it's really narrow, specifically when I'm playing Soldier, like I feel like I'm just sitting, shooting like a turret and just like waiting for something to happen where I can like run past everybody.
Right. I mean, it makes sense. Like that's definitely a soldier's strength is the legs, and if you can't use the legs, then you're like, well, what's the point? So maybe we'll talk about that. But I mean, it definitely is his legs. Like you have to kind of try to utilize your ability to take angles and reposition quickly as something you're trying to leverage. And if you're not, then there are better heroes than Soldier. But maybe if we get there, if we ever get stuck main botting a Soldier, we can talk about ways to do it more effectively. Okay, do you want to get into some gameplay, or do you have any other questions? Because that's all I've got.
Yeah, I can give you a code. This is a game I played like an hour ago, and I don't think it's a great display of me as a player, but it was the best I could offer here.
That's fine. It works. It's pulled up here. But yeah, even if it's not the best display, some of the habits are still going to be obvious, and so we'll still have talking points if nothing else. Okay, let me get this situated here.
All right.
Get the stream started. Is this Soldier, Cass, mixture of both?
It's only Soldier.
Only Soldier. Okay. Pretty good map for Soldier, at least at points. Just because there is some space to work with on first point. So I assume that you have at least a fairly decent understanding of Soldier. So what you understand now, you tell me. What is Soldier's strengths? What are his weaknesses?
Strengths. He's very mobile. You can take a lot of different positions. With Helix, you can sort of do decent burst damage. His sustain is okay if you get dove or if you're taking like a more aggressive spot.
Sure.
And
one of the things that I'm always asking about is the range, right? Soldier has a strength in the range department. Where would you describe, or how would you describe his range?
Um, I mean, I guess he can do decently from somewhat far ranges. Like his damage isn't great, but he can be pretty consistent.
Right, right.
Like he can adapt to like pretty
And
much
that's the key
anything.
thing, right? The adaptation. Now you're going to be on the longer end of the spectrum. You outrange Cassidy, you outrange Reaper, you outrange Genji, Symmetra, Reaper, Tracer, Sombra, Bastion, and so on, right? But Hanzo Widow, Ashe, right? Zenyatta, maybe Ana, a little bit tricky too, right? But more often than not, playing more of a mid to long range, adapting to versus the enemy composition, and being mobile too. And Soldier's like a classic hero in the mobility department too, because you describe Soldier as a more mobile hero, right? 100%. But he's not even anywhere close to the most mobile. So just like how he's a more ranged hero, but you don't want to play him like a ranged hero versus something very, very ranged heroes. It's the same thing in the mobility. You hard flank a lot of the time, and then you're like, oh crap, they're on Ball. Oh crap, they're on Tracer or Sombra or something like that. And then all of a sudden now you're taking like more conservative angles. You kind of see what I'm saying?
Right, yeah.
So the thing with Soldier a lot of time is you kind of decide which aspect of your kits to leverage. Am I going to leverage the range more, or am I going to leverage the mobility more? Versus this comp, you're going to leverage the range more, most likely, right? But also, they also don't have like any Tracer, so you can leverage a little bit of the mobility. But like, what if they're on like Widow, right? Okay, well then all of a sudden now I really have to leverage that mobility because I can't just peek any long sight line and do damage anymore. You kind of see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then they're going to go like Widow Tracer, and then you're going to be like, all right, well, I need to take a long sight line that the Widowmaker isn't controlling, or a flank that the Tracer isn't controlling. You kind of see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like, that's like the dynamics of Soldier. Is he's like kind of like, he never really sets the tempo of what the enemy team is doing. You more react to what is given to you, if that makes any sense. Because he's so mid in all ways, shapes, and forms, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It just means that he has to kind of bend to what is presented to him. So you look at the enemy comp and you're like, all right, well, I outrange most of these guys, and I could leverage my mobility a little bit. So once this fight starts, let's actually play a few more seconds. Where do you think that you want to be here?
I think in this general area is fine. Maybe to like more to the left, like right here.
Sure.
Like out of dive range and like making sure that I am aware of where Genji is.
Sure, but then the question was, were you out of dive range?
No, because I knew he was up here a long time ago and I'm still standing close.
Right, and not only that, but then there's another little gentleman that just appears as well. I guess it's a little bit later, but even the Genji is able to close the distance a little bit here, right? And the reason why being a little bit outside of dive range is so important is look at what you're doing now, and look at what you're doing now.
Yeah.
Right? That's the difference, right? The reason is not because, oh, I can survive a dive. Well, duh. But we want you shooting during the dive, not running. Not feeling disoriented and having a hard time tracking because he's all up in your grill. Now, that's a very myopic way of looking at it. That's you leveraging your range, correct? Playing a little bit further back, spam, take an angle, whatever. Here's another question. Could you have been sneaky here and taken this angle here and survived?
Yeah.
Even if the Winston jumps in you?
Probably. If I still have my E and there's the health back there.
Probably, right? And he would have to choose you or your Zen, right? So he would, if he goes for you, Zen pockets you, Mercy pockets you, GG easy, right? So this is where you would leverage your mobility, right? Where you kind of bait a dive, and you're like, oh, well, I'm not shooting. That's okay, because I'm forcing them to look at me away from the rest of my team. So you're leveraging your mobility by taking an angle. You're leveraging your range by taking a sight line. Right now, you neither have a clear sight line nor a clear angle. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you are not leveraging either of Soldier's strengths right now. And that's what happens here. So either play further back, punish Monkey more, or play the angle here to where Monkey jumps your Ashe and Zenyatta, whatever, and you trade the backline with Zarya. Right? No threat. You see that?
Yeah.
Pick your poison. Because either one can work. Really, truly, either one can work. Again here, are you leveraging your range? Are you leveraging your mobility?
No.
No. You're walking forward. So either back up or swing wide, right? Now, there's not really a big opportunity here to swing wide, so at this point in time, you've kind of made your bed. You probably just need to play the sideline. But you were a non-factor this fight.
Yeah.
Okay. Is all this making sense so far?
Yeah.
Now you can kind of see that, like, yes, I'm not gonna flame. You look like you're not playing your best. I get it, you know. But it doesn't matter. What we want you to understand is the theory behind this, so you can apply this on your own in any circumstance.
Right.
Now, right now, are you leveraging a sightline with a zero, and or an angle or mobility with a zero?
Yeah. I mean, I'm very safe here, and I can just get free shots on.
Let me ask you a question. Would you feel completely safe here as a Widow or Ashe? Kind of a hesitation, right? Kind of. It's a nice sightline, but
yeah,
maybe. Okay. All right. Would you feel? Would you be doing any damage at this distance as Tracer or Reaper, or honestly, even like a hero like Cassidy? Would this be a comfortable range to play at?
No,
right? So you can kind of see what I'm saying here. That you're getting something out of this that some other DPS heroes may or may not be comfortable doing, right? So I'm okay. This is okay. Now, I might have you pay more attention to this, because at a certain point in time, you have to understand that this is maybe a little bit too far, especially with the stupid ledge thing on the bridge. Leveraging your mobility, right?
Yeah.
He's scared to engage in you because he knows exactly what's going to happen. You just forced a bubble. Leveraging mobility. Immediately repositioned just where he left. This is like this fight is like a hilarious example of you did a lot and you didn't do anything. You completely waste Winston's time while pressuring the backline a little bit, and yet there you go, right? That symmetric turret bug is so disorienting. Okay, where should you be? Are you going to leverage a sightline from this position right here?
No.
No, there's no reason for you to be here because this sightline sucks, right? And not only that, but also look at the rest of your team, right? Most of your team is already taking the sightline, so where should you be? This is going to sound crazy. What if you weren't up here and started to trade with a Winston, or at least peeked here?
Yeah, I guess
it's risky, but again, that's something that no other DPS could do. Now, if you see Genji and you're like, oh crap, get out of here, right?
Yeah.
But my point is that, again, leverage your mobility, leverage your range in some way, shape, or form. You could even go here, see the Winston starts to dive you, you run all the way, force the Winston to chase you this way, split away from your Ashe Zen. So it's almost like you're baiting the Winston to dive you so that the Ashe Zen are safe. Do you kind of see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like take an off angle. This feels messy, but do you notice who was falling asleep at the wheel? You see this?
Yeah.
You did something that other DPS can't do. Now, if you die here, okay, it's Primal Rage, right? We get it. But do you see how disastrously that went for that Winston?
Yeah.
Nice job. That's you leveraging a strength of your hero. Like, really, we can boil down this. We're going to boil down this entire review to one sentence. Are you leveraging the strength of your hero? The mobility, the sustain, or the range? And if the answer is no, then you need to seriously evaluate what you're doing. Now, right now, are you leveraging a strength of the hero?
Yeah, I'm far enough away I can react to the blade, and I'm decently ranged.
Sure, you actually have a sight line here. Now, here's what, there's never going to be any one solution. Do you remember what we were talking about on first point, where it was like either abuse your sight line or abuse your mobility? Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
So you can, what's the other option here?
I can go like up top above me.
Too close. Oh, like here?
Like behind me, yeah.
Oh. Well, that's just the mobility, leveraging your sightline, right? It's the same thing. Now, could it be a better use of your sightline? Maybe, yeah, sure. But I want something different. Leverage something else about your kit. What if you went here?
Wrap around, right?
Yeah. Now, you would have to be sneaky, you know? Yeah. But what if you went around here and maybe your queen goes in and you like legit take like this angle here or on boxes, or legitimately go hard flank the back line?
Okay.
smoke and crack, right? But maybe if you did it with your tank, maybe if you did it like right now, like right before they bladed, maybe, right?
Mm-hmm.
You kind of see what I'm saying? Again,
Yeah.
what other DPS could do this safely, right? Lots of other DPS. Not many hit scan, right? Not many hit
Right.
scan. And you could do it quickly, like right now. We kill the Winston, kill the Ashe. I start swinging right here, and I'm creeping. He blades. Okay, go trade backlines. You see this?
Yeah.
Something to consider. Now, what you're doing now is fine too. But, you know, maybe not quite enough. Where was your Helix here? Oh, that's disastrous. You could visor this, by the way. 100% could visor this. At this
I
distance,
thought about it, but once the nano came out, I like hesitated.
I don't hesitate. If you're this far away, you can really ruin this guy's day. And you can also trade the Lucio here too. Don't forget when visor as well, you can headshot too.
Yeah.
So you could burn this guy down pretty fast. At the very least, forcing a deflect is like the worst thing this Genji could do is deflect right now.
Mm-hmm.
Completely kills the blade dead in the water, right? So like I would definitely do it at that range. That and also judging the dash range a little bit better, you could have completely juked him.
Yeah.
Okay. All this making sense so far?
Yeah.
Are you leveraging a sightline or mobility here? Oh, well, I know I can smell it. Oh, that's unfortunate. Point was capped. I like the idea there. You just need to roll the dice. You know what I'm saying? Just go.
Yeah.
Just go. Leveraging a sightline, right? Just a little bit of distance between you and the monkey. Quickly reposition. Good damage. Visor here is fine. Let me look at this here. So you're kind of like doing what I call the rubber band effect, where they pushed in, then you push back, right? You are down one, but they're also down one too, so seems reasonable. Make sure you're aiming for the head. Good. I think so many soldiers like forget that.
Yeah, my visors are really lazy usually,
That's
even
okay.
in like a good game.
It's actually not that okay, but yeah, I'm being polite. Okay, now you know, look at the situation right here. Are you really gonna be able to leverage a sightline in this position? Maybe if you're like here, right? Maybe.
Yeah.
So, but you're not, right? Look at where you're at. You see what I'm saying?
Just sitting waiting.
You're just sitting there on. Now you are in an off angle, but the off angle isn't really anything that you're gonna get a lot of value out of. Maybe. So here's what you do here. There's different ways of looking at it. You can flank harder, right? You can take this flank here and be like, I'm just going to bait a dive and run away. That would also work. Or you can set your feet and spam. What do you think makes the most sense? There is the Extreme 1, Extreme 2, Enlightened Centrist. What do you think?
I mean, I guess I like the idea of going up top the most.
Okay. I'm of the opinion that I don't think it really matters. The answer is super nuanced. If they had Nano Blade, Enlightened Centrist would be you're in a coffin immediately, right? If they had Primal, I think you would want to be more to the extreme either way, either further back or further aggressive, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think maybe that's one takeaway that you can have is whenever they have like a lot of ults or something very powerful, you want to leverage a harder flank or a deeper sightline, one or the other, right? But besides that, even this is fine, right? If they dive you here, you run away. Again, that's something that not a lot of hit scan can do. And in the meantime, you've got a pretty good, decent sightline to spam, correct? So here, not as good of a sightline, but you have a very, very aggressive angle that kind of demands them to do something about it, right? And then you can just run away, correct?
Yeah.
Again, we always going back to, are you leveraging a part of Soldier's Kit? Are you leveraging a part of Soldier Kit? Your range, your mobility, your range, your mobility. If not, then you're trolling. Now, obviously, we talked about Nano Blade. We talked about Beat here. So what you're doing right now, is this logical?
No.
You sure?
I mean, can he just kill me for free?
Does he even know where you are?
No, but I'm making like a lot of noise.
Maybe. But is the mentality here to kill the Genji or even to survive the blade? Why are you here?
Just to do damage or get cooldowns.
Right. This is a high risk, high reward play versus a nano blade. Does that make logical sense? Because if you sit here and play patty cake, are you going to die to nano blade? Yes, this fight's lost, right? So even with trance and cold, this fight's lost. So roll the dice, get a trade, kill backline. You see what I'm saying? Think about what you were doing here, right? Where you were like playing further away, and especially if you popped that visor or had Helix, I think you guys wouldn't be able to deal with that nano blade. You think you would have done it, right? Or flank can take it here. If you'd sat here with your backline like an idiot, you would have died, right? Now you did die, but it wasn't necessarily because you were in a bad position. Now here, very, very risky, but maybe that nano blade kills your backline, but then you kill their backline because you did something more aggressive. You can even see that in their posture. You see how they're just like, oh, we don't care, nano blade, we're just gonna run forward, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see it. It's fine. He messes his nano blade up, so you guys are good to go. Are you leveraging his strength as soldier right now?
I'm playing at a safe range.
Are you're playing sightline, right?
Yeah.
What's the only problem about what you're doing right now? In theory, what you're doing is playing to his strength. But do you have a crossfire of any sort set up?
No, I'm just a turret.
Right. So what would be the best option here?
I could go slightly more left and see what I could get out of one.
Leverage your mobility more. A little bit scary, but definitely good. What about, well, what else you got?
I could go like to my right, I guess, like into this house.
You can go here. Not the best sightline in the world, but it's safer off angle and a nice split too, right? A really nice split. Okay, something to consider. And then here, what are your two options?
I can shoot here. I could go right and look for something.
Back up, create a nice deep sightline, or secretly sneaky 1, 2, 3 hard flank kill, right?
Yeah.
Leverage your mobility, leverage your range. Right now, neither.
Neither.
Okay. Now you do have a bit of a crossfire with your Ashe, so that's good. Oh no. Did you kill your Ashe? You did. I know you did. Ah, no you didn't. I think you missed the Helix. Yeah, I mean this is pretty much you're cooked. Oh wait, no! I was a doubter, my bad. Let's see. Leveraging your mobility, love to see it. No way they expect this angle. Now, one little micro detail that we haven't talked about as much. How come this Genji doesn't die immediately?
I'm running around. I'm normally pretty decent about that.
You're right. You need your Valorant kicking in here, right? Nobody looking at you, set your feet.
Yeah.
Very important. Especially in Overwatch because of how, you know, how many factors it is with you moving and they moving and all that kind of stuff. It becomes such a hard game. Nice job, though. Leverage the range and the mobility there. GG's. Do you have any questions so far, by the way?
Nah.
Okay. Moving at a bit of a brisk pace, so I want to make sure. Nice. Leveraging your range and your mobility again. Ooh, nice. There's the track. That feels so good with the hitbox that big, you know?
Yeah, it's like him and Zen. I just like, I have to go for it.
All right. Does your position right now make sense?
Slightly. There's definitely better options though.
Okay, what are those options?
I could go up top again, or I should probably just go right.
Yep, just play more of an angle, right? Basically the same sightline, but a better angle.
Yeah.
More cover. But at least you have a sightline here, right? Like there's at least it feels like that diva is gonna have to really reach to go for me. Like you see how much more time you have to react. Good. Why did the Ana not nano? Oh, he got impatient. Zoning visor. Unironically, it's fine. What do you think?
I guess it's not the worst. I just need to be worried about Genji because I don't have my E yet.
Yep. You're going at a good time. There is pressure from your team, so you just need to be worried about Genji. But you can still see that the pressure that you're putting out from this position, forcing sleep dart, forcing distraction, burning HP. Just run out. Like that it feels weird to say that, but that was a good play. Like you bought time in a loss situation here. The only thing that you should be looking at in these circumstances is not whether the play in of itself was bad or good, but how did I do it? For example, right now, if we were to break down the micro, what would you say?
If I could do this again, I'd probably hug closer to the wall and try to one-clip Ana.
Okay, so target, cover. Obviously, then by the time the Helix goes out, it's too late as well. And so then because you're not hugging the wall, what do you have to do? To dodge sleep dart.
To run backwards.
You have to run instead of shoot. You hear sleep dart here, you just go and then peek right back out again.
Yeah.
Right? So better cover means more uptime, means more damage, means better chance of a kill, lower chance of dying. The Helix on the Ana as an opener as well, I probably would say is good too. I think like using the Helix as a closer when they're behind cover is fine too, but I think like in this time, like you're gonna get the TDK. You only need the Helix in a couple of shots, right? So better cover, better target, and then obviously having like the Helix here, this guy's cooked. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Okay. And I think that's important for like whenever we look at, you always want to look at macro first. Where should I have been? When should I have gone? What should I have been doing? And then once you have the general vibe of that, then look at what you did within that, decide how you could have done it better. But you need to get that order correct. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. That being said, micro is 100% worth your time. But the reason why I don't put as much emphasis on it is because it's usually something that, as a player, you can probably figure it out on your own. Good. I don't think shooting D.Va is too bad when she's discorded. That was totally fine. Good. I like how occasionally when you're in a really heated fight, you almost take a second to kind of pause, you know? Like you're very cautious and disciplined with your trigger, which is good. Now, I will say here, micro, display, makes sense. Watch carefully.
Yeah.
You see it, right?
Yeah.
You have a bubble. Stand still. Now you know they're going to be in a rush to touch cart. So
Yeah.
macro.
I can just sit back and get a million kills with Visor.
Right? Or they're in a rush to touch cart. What are they not in a rush to do? Do you think they're going to check the corners?
Probably not.
No. So what else could you do? Especially because you have Visor.
If I keep going straight and take like the doorway to the right of Lucio, or I could go here.
Sure. Just sit and hide here. Crouch.
That works,
3,
yeah.
2, 1. Visor. They're not thinking about this at all. I promise you. Is your positioning leveraging a sightline or mobility?
No.
I know you're thinking about stopping touch, but this is like an Overwatch classic where everyone's like thinking about cart, but realistically there's 4.5 seconds left. You're not going to stop them from touching cart. You know what I'm saying? There's plenty of time for them to touch cart. So just play smart, right? This doesn't matter. Like if anything here, now Like, oh, this is just terrible, right? Like, you can see this is just terrible. No sightline, no angle, no nothing. Completely shut down. You see that?
Yeah.
Leverage is strength. Don't press W. Don't press W. Don't press W. Get back. Why are you here? Because that's... Oh!
Yeah.
That's always the thing, right? Whenever you get antsy, you just start playing the game, but that's not what you got to keep your cool. You got to keep your cool. Play to your strength, right? And the thing with soldiers, anytime that you mess that up, we see you run instead of shoot, and that's the problem. Okay. You have any questions so far?
No, that makes sense.
Do you want to keep going with this VOD?
I mean, the two VODs I have are sort of the same thing, where it's like I'm autopiloting, meaning I'm sort of don't think about anything, just shoot what's on your screen, and they're both like close wins with the same score.
Sure. I wasn't sure if you had any Cassie or anything else that you wanted to see.
I don't think I do. I haven't. The thing, I guess I should ask in the forum, like, do you think I should like play two heroes more often? Because I put down Soldier and I put Cassidy as well, but like if I look at like my season stats so far, I have, what is it, 32 hours on Soldier and only 7 hours on Cassidy. Like I only pick him when like someone else takes Soldier.
I don't think it's a problem. I think that's enough play time to where you'll probably sort it out, and the heroes are similar enough in their function, right? With Cassidy, you're going to have a little bit more options in short range situations, but you'll have less options on flanks, right? Doesn't mean you won't be flanking as Cassidy. You'll be flanking as Cassidy, but you'll understand it's more of a risk and less of a, hey, kind of a bait, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So, no, I don't think it's a problem. I think it should be okay. If you find that your Cassidy starts majorly lagging behind in your Soldier, then maybe something to revisit.
Yeah, that's sort of my thought process right now. Is like, he's definitely not as good as my Soldier, like when I'm playing at my best on both, but like it's only very slightly, I feel like.
I wouldn't worry about it. Yeah, I think you're probably okay. So no questions so far then?
Yeah, not so far.
All right, let's keep going. But what are the main takeaways that have stuck with you that you feel like you need to work on or be thinking about more?
Playing to the strengths of my hero.
Okay.
Like, not just like sitting and being a turret, like not being afraid to be more aggressive if like they have ults that are just gonna insta win them the fight.
Does my sightline make sense?
Sightlines, yeah.
Does my angle make sense? Can I take a flank here? Should I be taking a flank here? Like, this is a very macro intensive game, right? Like, to always thinking about like what makes the most sense in the given circumstance, and then obviously like boiling it down further within the macro. You know, what is my helix looking like? Where am I? Like, am I using the corner properly? Am I moving unnecessarily? Am I shooting the squishiest, most fastest kill target possible? That's kind of like what we're looking at. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. What are they running? Oh my days.
I don't know.
That is disgusting.
This whole game is kind of a disaster.
That is disgusting. Now, what's your advantage over this composition? This is a trick question.
I mean, I can abuse range, like, relatively uncontested. I just have to respect, like, Sombra Hack and Javelin, really.
Okay. What about more mobility?
I mean, decently mobile compared to them.
Yeah, you're not going to be touched this game. Their comp's bad. They have no way to contest angles. They don't have really good sightline control. So basically, here's the thing. The worst thing that you could do here is just be a mid bot. Take an angle, take a sightline. It doesn't matter which one you want to leverage. You're going to win the game off of that. So let's push the cart. And then we're going to ask the all-important question. Yes. Okay. So what is this? Is this an angle? Is this a mobility or a sightline that you're leveraging? The answer is it's another trick question.
I mean, both. I guess.
Both, right? Yeah, both, right? Now, if you were to like, I mean, there isn't really a great sightline from main here, right? So you could also leverage here.
Yeah.
A little bit of both. You could hard flank.
I think I end up going
and
here.
Leverage here. You could literally go all the way into their back line if you wanted to. Zero punish, right? Zero punish. You have so many options versus this comp. This is fine. And this is well timed too. I mean, I'm pulling this at a fast speed because I just know that this is over, right? Like, you guys have won this. The only thing I will say here is I don't understand why you go backwards. Like here, he starts to spam a little bit. Just sit and hide for a second, and then re-peek. Or, if you want to do something, you could drop and re-peek a different angle, right?
Mm-hmm.
You kind of see what I'm saying? Like, you don't have your healing station, which is probably why you're chilling for a second, but you're also full HP. You know what I'm saying? You're good. I mean, this is pretty low. At least for you, anyway. You're not going to be under a lot of pressure. And so that will mean that you have more responsibility to put out pressure because nobody's touching you, right? You're like, oh my gosh, I felt like I did so much, but we still lost the fight. Well, that's because it might be easy for you, but for everybody else in your team, it's going to be a little bit harder.
Yeah.
For example, your Reaper is going to have a really, really hard time versus this. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think micro was the main takeaway there, which means we don't have to sweat over it too much. Ah, there it is. There it is. Now, my question for you is, was this a conscious decision, or was this just, I just decided to do it and it ended up working out?
This was a conscious decision.
Why?
I think at this point, I'd like sort of woken up and started like actually thinking about what I'm doing.
So you were paying attention to their comp, at least at this point.
Yes.
Okay.
I knew like nothing's gonna happen to me here.
Gotcha. Well, good. So for you, today's review is not just learning, because some of the stuff you already knew, but also just
that was kind of my fear. But
well, that's okay though. That's okay though.
I think I'm inconsistent with this though. Like on some maps, I feel like I'm really good at like playing to the strengths of the hero, and like I'm thinking about it a lot because I don't know. Like I feel like I'm just not lost on like certain points or certain sides, but especially in like King of the Hill and stuff. Like I feel like I'm definitely just turreting.
Well, why do you think you're inconsistent? Is it a mental thing where you're tired, or is it, like you said, the map thing where I don't feel like I know what I'm supposed to be doing, therefore I autopilot?
I think it's just an understanding thing. Like,
so what's the solution then?
For
example, Legion Tower, King's Row, those were problems, and you said Ilios is more of a problem now. What's the solution?
Try new things, see what happens.
Sure. You see what I'm saying? As long as it makes sense with the sightline, with the angle versus the enemy comp, exactly. You need to go out there with like that learner's mindset and figure out.
Yeah.
You need to figure it out. Because like if you're like, well, I don't know, well, that's no excuse. You know what I'm saying? Ignorance is no excuse. Figure it out. You know what your hero's good at, right? You know what you need to be working on, so do it. Like this makes sense, at least the starting position did. Now I will say that this is a position where like you've taken an off angle and a high ground and you're doing fine, but not only can you look at this and be like, okay, this makes sense of this situation with the hero, the question that you should always be asking is, was this the best strength that I could be leveraging? For example, is it better to peek here a soldier or hard flank versus this composition?
Probably right here is better.
Probably hard flank, right? I like this angle a little bit better. It's more of an off angle, and my mobility is probably the best thing to leverage versus this rather than the range by a little bit, right? You're not exactly a million miles away here. You are pretty easy to spam, okay?
Yeah.
Then going back here, what's the problem with this? It's a strength of the hero. It's better than sitting in main, right? But you are fairly easy to spam out, right?
Yeah.
So what would be the best angle here? So it's good, but it's not the best. What's the best? You tell me.
I could wrap around all the way left.
And you not only have your cake, but you can eat it too. Because you have a longer sightline that's harder to spam and a greedier angle that's harder to punish.
Yeah.
You see that? So even when you're doing good on maps that you think you're like, I'm thinking, you should always be second guessing what you think is the right play.
Mm-hmm.
Because you will find a better play, I promise you. Because this would be not only oppressive, this would be single-handedly win your team the fight. Promise you.
Yeah.
And you dodge EMP, which is a nice touch. I mean, I don't think this fight's won. I think this is over. Because the problem is the problem with the high ground too is then if you get bullied off, it's just chilling. Oh, the ragdoll is always random too, if I remember correctly. So I'm curious. Wait, maybe it's not. Wait, is he gonna die there every time? This is some like metaphor. Oh, see? Yeah, there he goes. One more time. But yeah, the problem is that you can also think about like the quality of the position that you take based off of when it goes south, what are my secondary options? You know what I'm saying? If you take the high ground, you get bullied off of high ground, you're stuck with your team. If you take the angle and you get bullied off the angle, you're still on the angle, right? You might have to go grab the mega, but you're still on the angle. You kind of see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Once more. Oh, crap. Okay, well, that's unfortunate. That's still pretty good, though. I'm here to provide the highest of quality. Okay. Now, we know what's good. Given the circumstance, you're up one. They have no ults. You have Visor. What's best?
Take the harder flank.
Why?
And just get a Visor for free. Nothing's gonna happen.
Sure. Okay. Let's see.
I don't remember if I do that.
Because this one might be a lot less attractive, because if the Orisa is not focused here, she can ruin your day. This like might not work at all, right? But you're not in anywhere, right? You're not in anywhere. Now you do have a bit of a sightline. It's not like you're trolling, but it just feels like it would be so much better. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, should you stack with your Kiriko when she Kitsunes?
It's a good idea, yeah.
It depends.
Yeah.
Depends. There's always nuance here. You know, if you want to stack, if you were stacking there because you wanted a Kitsune combo, I'm good with that. But I want to make sure. I want to make sure that that's right. I want to make sure that that's what you were doing, right? Leveraging mobility, love it. Wait, did Bap take the? Wait, no, he did.
I'm pretty sure I got it.
Oh no! What happens here?
I think I just forgot that they can walk upstairs. I don't know.
You just heal station too late. What was Kiriko doing? She was spy checking. Right. Ah! Okay, yeah, you definitely should have heal station, but this is a pretty clown classic. I'm not gonna lie. Oh my gosh, everything that could have gone wrong. You'll get res though.
Oh yeah, about heal station, I've noticed. I feel like I only use it if I absolutely have to. Like if I could have like 60 health, but like. And be getting chased down, but like if I have like a mercy near me, like I'm not using it.
Okay, so there's I have a good analogy for you. I don't know if you've played Mei before, but Mei Ice Block is like everything for the hero, right? So important. Like it's what allows you to play aggressively. Like it allows you to play defensively. Like you can't play Mei without Ice Block. Okay. And so what I will do, especially when I was grinding Mei. Is I would be so greedy with my Ice Block, and I would die a lot of times because I couldn't use it, because I didn't use it. But I got really, really good over time at like knowing when I could use it, when I didn't need to use it, and so on. And that was one of the reasons why I was pretty good at Mei, right? Really greedy with my Ice Block. All right. Heal Station is not like that at all. It's like it a little bit, but it's just not very strong, at least in its current state. So when I look at this situation here. You might look at this and be like, well, I felt like I didn't need heal station, but just use it. Just use it.
I might have just egoed it. And...
It's just a 1v1. You know what I'm saying? The thing with heal station that makes it really weak is a lot of times when you're under a lot of pressure, you're not healing, you're running, right? So when you find an opportunity to actually use it in a 1v1 and you don't need to run, use it immediately. There's definitely circumstances where you're going to be wasting it unnecessarily. That's the other end of the spectrum. But there is a very, very, very large gray area with heal station. And there's really no reason when there's a very clear use of it right now to not use it. There's just no reason. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not like it's going to be quote unquote wasted. You know, it's good value. It's going to allow you to take that 1v1 more confidently. Maybe it means that your Mercy can damage boost you instead of heal. Maybe it means that your Kiriko can damage him instead of healing you. You kind of see what I'm saying? If it's a 1v1, use it. Totally fine. Because a lot of the 1v1s we're going to use it, you're going to have to end up running. So it's like, hey, it's a 1v1 where heal station is actually useful. I'm going to use it.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, where are you going to be here? You tell me. Best position. Yeah, you know what? Actually, screw it. Give me 3 options. 3 options that leverage your sight lane or your mobility.
I can take an aggressive angle, like the stairs I'm going.
Yeah.
I can go.
You could go all the way up here and flank, right? Okay, where
Yeah.
else?
I could wrap left.
Could like sit here, right? Or even all the way over here, right?
Yeah.
Or heck, even here, right? Okay. Give me a third. It's a sight line. It's not a flank necessarily.
I don't know. Do I go up the stairs behind me and like wait for them to contest?
See?
Yeah.
It's good. It's a good angle, right? It's a good sight line. Good cover. It's a little bit of an off angle. It's leveraging your range more. You know.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think is the best, given the circumstances?
Probably going left or like going by the boats.
Sure, like over here.
Yeah, this general area.
Sure, that works for me. I would say probably that or this one right here for the more conservative option. There's more cover here. I like this better. I would say this angle could work, but I would only do something like this if we had like no ults and they had like EMP, grab, back window beat. You know what I'm saying? I had to do something crazy, right?
Yeah.
I don't think you need to do anything crazy here. So obviously we're not going to see any of those because it's your gameplay.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter though, you're just the GOAT regardless. Oh my gosh! Alright, come on, I want to see this. Oh my days. Too good at the game. Nicely done. And that's another example where like the healing station feels kind of weird. I shouldn't need to use it, right? Well, you're 15 HP. Just use it. You know, let your healers walk forward. You generate some HP, walk forward. It's not the end of the universe. You know what I'm saying? That's value. That heal station had value. It's fine. Alright, you got time for one more fight?
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a look here. So obviously not the friendliest spot on Rialto for sure. But where could you be? Where? Because think of it like just squeeze a little bit more juice out of your positioning. There's just not a lot of good options, right? There's just not a lot. But surely this isn't it, right? Give me 2 options. Or 3.
I could go right.
Yeah, just be a little bit further, right?
Yeah.
A little bit better angle, a little bit further away from this nastiness. Okay, where else?
I could go left and wait for Zarya to not really be a threat for me. Or
Hard flank, sit high, peek here. This is probably your best option, honestly. Especially given the ult situation here. You guys are cooking. Right, this is going to be a nasty fight. Right, the best thing you could do here is probably hide and late peek. By the way, that's one of the little detail we haven't talked a lot about. I don't know if you've seen that in my other videos, but like the deeper the flank, the later you peek, right? So
yeah, I've heard you talk about that.
Okay, great. So leverage that one with Soldier. Where's your third option? Sideline option.
Go like to the right of where my Mercy is and shoot the right line.
You could. Don't like it though. Too close. What about?
Yeah.
You see? A little bit of an off angle, but oh my days, you're untouchable. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And you're playing your range really, really well. And now, obviously, they're playing a very mid comp, but you've given me 3 options versus a Sombra Tracer comp. Where would you play? Versus a Widowmaker. Where would you play? You could probably answer those questions in your head. You see what I'm saying? Which one would be more attractive versus the Widowmaker? Probably here, right? Or probably here. Okay. Which one would be more attractive versus the Sombra Tracer? Probably here, right? Where you're not going to get scouted and dove, but you can kind of snipe them from a distance. Do you kind of see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But yeah, this is what you're going to be thinking about. So what I want you to do is first order of business is find what's stopping you from being focused on the macro positioning between fights. More breaks, more sleep, setting a post-it note, whatever it is. And notice that I said, when do you figure out your positioning? between fights, not in the middle of the fight, because you might change it in the middle of the fight, obviously, but you got a lot of business to think about in the middle of the fight, right? What you don't have is you don't have things to think about between or before fights start. That's when you should be thinking. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then once you do that, then what's the next step? So you're now more alert. You're paying a little bit more attention. Not all the time. You're going to forget. It's going to happen. Obviously, everybody forgets. But you're a little bit more alert, a little bit more focused between fights. What should you be thinking about?
Where can I be? And is it playing to the strengths of my hero?
Where can I be?
Is it the best position I can take?
Yes, to the strengths. My hero, range, mobility, versus the enemy comp. Is it the best for my hero? Limit test / experiment. And that's the key thing. You got nothing to lose, right? You go into like these Ilios maps and like Koth is hard. Ilios is hard. There's a lot of really tight sight lines there, and a lot of the flanks feel like they're like hard flanks or nothing. You kind of see what I'm saying? So, yeah. But experiment, like try some stuff. You know, look at your timing, look at the angle, how's my cover usage, that kind of stuff, right? Try what works versus this comp versus that comp. You got nothing to lose. A big monumental failure when you go, you know, James Bond 007 stat wise, nobody cares, right? You just try it again next time. Okay, now you figure that out and go for the next. It's not like you're like losing money and everyone's pointing their fingers and mocking you. You know, nobody cares who these people are. They're nerds. You know, you're never gonna see them again. You don't even know who they are. You'll never meet them face to face. They probably won't dox you and send a thank you bomb, so you're probably safe. But like basically the idea is that like you shouldn't be scared of experimenting with this kind of stuff. Okay, and then in terms of, that was the big one, specifically positioning, playing the strengths of my hero versus the enemy comp. Is it the best for my hero? Trying to come up with a few different options and experimenting with them. And then micro-wise, if you were to throw any other like bones micro-wise, what were you thinking micro?
Don't be so lazy with cooldowns.
Right.
I guess.
Right.
Like, put down E if like stop waiting for like the perfect opportunity that's never going to come.
If you see value, use it. Now that's a very careful spectrum, but yes. What else? Remember the Valorant strategy with movement.
Oh yeah, like take a step back and like recognize like if you even really need to be dodging.
Right.
Play closer to cover sometimes.
Yeah, and I think those are the big two. Oh, and cover, because easy.
Yeah.
I can always improve cover usage. Okay, do you have any questions?
I have one.
Please.
So obviously like not getting burnt out is important, but with my training schedule you said my playtime is okay if I want to get to stable diamond.
Yes.
What would you recommend if I want to get to masters?
Remind me, was it a dozen games a day? Something like that?
I play usually between 10 to 12 games on Saturday and Sunday, usually closer to like 17 to 18 Monday through Friday.
That's good for masters too.
Okay.
And depending on how intense and focused you are, that would be good enough for grandmaster as well.
All right. I don't know if I want to go that far because I'm worried I'm going to get like genuinely burnt out to the point I don't want to play anymore.
Get there. Right.
Yeah.
We'll cross that road when we get there, one step at a time. But you let's put it this way: your playtime is not the issue right now.
Okay.
Not the issue. All right. Any other questions?
I think that covers it.
Okay. Well,